Hi, it's Dr. Myers again. This is the practical part of the course where I go over some of the nuts and bolts of what we're getting into here. If you didn't listen to the entire part one of lecture 1.1, that is the overview to the course, I really encourage you to go back and listen to the whole thing. I know it was pretty lengthy, but it's got a lot of good information and it really does set a good foundation for what we're trying to do for the rest of the course. I specifically aimed at trying to help you think like an economist and to see the kind of problems that economists can solve. In a couple of cases, what you learned there is going to play directly into Module 2A and 7A, which we'll talk about in a little while. The idea of this course is that we're going to be able to take the course over the summer. It's going to take you some time. It is very intensive. And by that, I mean there is no let up in this class. And the reason for that is I'm trying to do a 16-week course in 8. And the 16 modules basically mean that you have to do 2 a week. Now, this is the report of students who said how much time they actually spent on average, 4 to 6 hours a week. But consider the alternative. If we were doing this class, I would be scheduled 5 days a week. You would have to come and transit from your home, however far away that is, and then go back, and the time to take the park and do all of that. And of course, not just the lecture time in class, but I would expect you'd have to spend at least some time outside of class during the week to study, maybe a couple hours, maybe more. So somewhere around 9 to 13 hours is what I calculate there. On average, you might need. Half the students who did those evaluations for me got A's. And I would think it's the ones that did the more time. But again, you need to figure out how to do you so that you can succeed in this class. And I would jump in with as much time intensity as I could this week so that you get a good handle on how to schedule your time over the rest of the term. Now, just a little bit about who I am. Some of these pictures kind of give you an idea. I mentioned I did the first data science day. That's a picture from that. So I was a little bit younger. And then I am a assistant council commissioner with the Scouting America. And I really love doing that kind of volunteer work. I was a scoutmaster for 25 years. Picture with me and my wife at the Jamboree in 2013. It was held down in West Virginia. Some other things you can see there. I'm a Joe Bonamassa fan, if you can't figure that one out by the bottom one. And I won't bore you, as it says, with my 8 grandkids, but I just want you to know I'm human. I have done this for a very long time. I retired from my university position in 2020, and I've been staying active in economics by teaching specifically this course ever since. Now, there's 2 free textbooks, and the first one is a book written in 1946. It's a very notable year because it is the first year after the war, World War II. And when World War II ended, the economy was in absolute shambles. Everybody knows about the Great Depression, right? So the Great Depression happened after the Roaring '20s. So there was a lot of success in the '20s, but it was what economists call a balloon. And when it broke, we went into the Great Depression. And that depression lasted until the war. And then we had to throw everything we could into the war effort. And by the end of the war, we were basically paying for the ills of the Great Depression that had built up all over all that time. And we were also paying for the war effort. So we had quite a hole we had dug ourselves into. Moving from a military to a civilian economy in 1946, well, there was a lot to write about. And Henry Hazel is just fantastic. One of the things you can find about this book is it speaks to everything we're doing today. It is timeless. The other textbook is Greenlaw, Shapiro, and McDonald. It is a free textbook. I think you will enjoy it. It's readable. It's well done. Here's the first book. When you go to the website for Economics in One Lesson, you're going to get some choices. The entire book is on that web page. All you have to do is scroll down. The next thing you will see is a table of contents. Of course, you can download a PDF if you would prefer to do that, and you get the entire book. On the other hand, if you download the audio, it is, if I remember correctly, only the preface, the chapters 1 and 2. So you don't get more than that, but you do get that. And since you have to read the preface in chapter 1 and chapter 2, you might want the audio and listen to it while you're driving or something. Now, as we look at the OpenStack book, this is Economics Third Edition. I already showed you the link to that. You can get it free. It does say you can read it online, but I really wouldn't recommend that. I'd recommend you download a PDF and have a decent PDF reader that you can bring up and maybe annotate your own pages and do things like that. This is a 100% online course. It has been that way since 2023. I think that's 22 years ago. It was designed to be online from the very beginning. It was not, as so many courses were, forced to be an online course because of this pandemic. There are no meetings required. It is literally 100% online. There are no meetings physically nor online synchronously. We do not meet synchronously. If you score low, as we start going through this, I may require an intervention. You may request one if you're not doing well, and we can get together. I favor email interventions because it is an asynchronous course, and because I have a whole lot of things I do other than sitting at my desk, so I want to be able to schedule that as I can. I suspect you're in the same boat. You got work, you got everything else that you might be going on. So a lot of the intervention we can do back and forth by email. You must, I think, log into this course, being summer, every day, no more than every other day, or you're just not going to be able to keep up. Nearly all the contact with me is via an email. And when you email me, I'm going to ask you to do this, and you're going to see me say this 3 and 4 and 5, 6 times across introductory information, the lectures, and so forth. Use the subject E244 www summer 2025. Exactly that. You can put other words afterwards, but I need that for the filters and so that I don't miss your email. If I miss your email, it may delay us a day, 2, 3. I may not get it, and you're sitting there waiting and not working. And we don't have any time to waste in here, so make sure that comes to me. Also, every learning assessment, which is something we'll talk about here in a second, is at the end of each module, or many of the modules. You have to complete and send to me, but you're going to be emailing those forms. And it will actually require you to use that same subject. Actually, there's a little bit more detailed subject on it. And you will have to use MS Word to complete that. If you do not have MS Word, every student has capability of getting MS Word free, and I have instructions in the first module for you to download that so that you can use it. We will use MS Teams occasionally. There will be times where we might have to meet together to talk about a problem or something, and never call my university phone number. I'm not there. I'm working from other locations. In fact, this summer I will be working from a scout camp when I'm talking to you a whole lot of that time. This course is available 24/7. It's designed in modules. We're going to do about 2 a week, and the due dates and closure dates, of which I'll talk about in a minute, are strictly enforced. Module 1, which we're in right now, is the introduction to the course, and the learning assessment is due Tuesday of the first week. Module 2A is based on the book Hazlitt. We talked a little bit about that right now. The essay is due Friday. Once we get past Module 2A, we start with Module 2B, which is the first quiz-based module based on the book by Greenlaw and others. And the difference here is there will be a quiz at the end of the content, and after the quiz, you'll do a learning assessment. And those are going to be due every Tuesday and every Friday. Each quiz is based on 2 to 4 chapters. Actually, there's only one module that has 4 chapters. It's basically 2 chapters a week is what we're going to be doing. In every module that is quiz-based, you're going to have a 10-item quiz. You can repeat it up to 3 times. You have to actually take it 3 times by requirement, unless you score 10 out of 10. You score a perfect score on your first time, you're done. All right, then you move on and you do the required learning assessment. The learning assessments are due at 11:59. It's the only exception to the rule I said there was no exceptions to. And that's just simply so that you're not sweating, how do I get both of these done by 11:30? The idea is as soon as you finish your quiz, complete the learning assessment. It won't take you a half hour. Module 2A, 7A, and the modules 11 to 15 are writing assignments. The 2A you already know about a little bit. It's based on Hazlitt. 7A is midterm week. We'll talk about that in a minute. And modules 11 through 15 are macroeconomic chapters. In 4 of those, there's going to be a create a graph exercise where you have to also write a paragraph about what does it mean. And those are graded. Now, there are some bonuses through the course, but I will not tell you where they are. I tell people they're hidden, but they're really not hidden. They're in plain sight. If you look at all the content, you will see all 3 bonuses. It's up to you whether you do them or not. Here's how a bonus works. A bonus might get you only 1 or 2 points, but those are added on directly to your final percentage score. So if you have an 89 average at the end of all of this, and you did a bonus and did a nice job and you got 2 points, you now have a 91. That's an A minus. If you did a second bonus, you'll be in the A range more than likely. Here's the home page. It's exactly what it looks like if you go on. And I want to talk about a few pieces of this page real quick. First, always start here. Now, why do I say this? Because many students will go in and they'll go straight to looking for, I think it's under assessments, you go down to quizzes, it'll tell you what the first quiz is. You'll open up the quiz, you'll take it, you'll do terrible because you never looked at the content. You never focused on everything I wanted you to focus on in order before you do the quiz. Same thing with all the other, you can find the pieces in many places, but the only place you can find everything is in the content. The content is in order, and I want you to go through the content in order. Now, there's an assignment due on Tuesday, the learning assessment for Module 1. You'll see 2 calendars there. On the left-hand side, you see a traditional calendar that you can print out and put on your bulletin board or have an image on your phone or whatever. And the other is the electronic calendar that's built into Brightspace. They should agree. If they don't, the printed calendar is the ruler. All right. And the reason if they don't agree between one and the other is very simple. I messed up when I was trying to set all the dates. There's a ton of dates in here. So it's very possible that one of those dates is set to 2024, the summer of 2024, or set on a wrong day. If you find a discrepancy, let me know so I can fix it quickly. I will be checking for that and looking for that. At the moment, I would tell you there aren't any exceptions, but thanks for looking. On Friday, you have another due date. And you'll notice in the calendar, the due dates are in green and the closure dates are in red. There's a quick reference bar on the home page. It should be fairly obvious, but I'm going to go through these one at a time so you can see what's there. I'm not going to go through the syllabus because presumably you will have already seen that, or you'll see that in the next entry in Module 1, and you can go through that on your own. Here's a picture of the printable calendar. And in fact, there are 3 months to the printable calendar, June, July, and August, right? So it's the 3 months that we'll be involved in. And you can see on there that each of the due dates are in green, and those due dates are every Tuesday and Friday, and the modules be to complete it. To complete a module, other than 1 and 2, which do not have quizzes, you would take your quiz, get a 10 or 3 attempts, and you would complete your learning assessment. The closure date is always a Tuesday or Saturday. It's just 3 days later or so. This time between the due date and the closure date is my time, not yours. It is not a grace period. You are not allowed to use it, and I willingly and eagerly assign zeros if you miss your due date. Now, if you miss a due date and there's a really good reason, you're backed up for this reason or that reason, and so forth, and you can still take the quiz between the green and the red, and it will override my zero, but that zero is going in there anyway. But it will override the zero. The problem is if you take all that time, notice that on the 21st, when you submit Module 2B, Module 3 has already a day late. There's no time to use that grace period. Why is that grace period there? I can use it to come to you and say, hey, you really didn't do very well. I want to talk to you about that. Maybe I give you another chance to take the quiz. That has to happen very, very fast, or again, you fall behind and we don't get success. There's an exception here to graph quiz is a pre-assessment. It's not for grade. You've got to score 90% or better, or you cannot see the Module 2B quiz. And the reason for that is we're so graphic heavy in this class. I want to make sure that you can do well. And that's really why that is why that is there. You can repeat it 5, 10 times, whatever. But I do say if you don't get a 9 or a 10 after 5 times, you probably got to talk to me as quickly as you can because there's something you're not grasping. Midterm week. Yes, it is the week of 4th of July. There is something due every day. Now, midterm, this is an asynchronous course. You could do every bit of the midterm on Monday and have the rest of the week off. I'm fine with that. All I did was I scattered out the 6 quizzes. Now, why are there 6 quizzes? The first quiz is, that you see there on the 30th is a quiz you cannot study for. It's a knowledge quiz. I'm going to ask you some questions. Do you know this? And then you're going to study a little bit of material. And then you're going to write an essay on what you learned. Students tell me this is the best part of the class, but it is intense. And don't let it back you up and try to get ahead on it. As soon as you finish one, don't stop and celebrate. Start another one. Get it out of the way so you can have your 4th of July free. Just showing you August for completeness. The last day of the class will be Sunday, although everything should be due on Saturday before. Module 16, by the way, is just the evaluation module. I do give 10 points for you completing the module. Well, you can see in the syllabus there can be some deductions from that 10, but you're not for what you wrote. You either do the evaluations and get a 10, or you don't do them and you get a 0. Back on the quick bar there on the home page, learning objectives are for each quiz. Each quiz has 10 questions. The difficulty of the questions are explained. The learning objectives are explained. So if you do miss number 5 and you come back, you'll see that what you missed was a question that dealt with explaining how demand and supply determines prices, quantities bought and sold. Okay, might help you get to where you need to be for the next attempt. All right, how hard is each quiz? You'll notice there's a difficulty rating on each of those, and modules 3 and 4 are the 2 hardest by this. I guess module 7 is also in there, and it's just simply because analytic and complex questions are multiple step type questions. There's a lot to consider in those. The content, when you go into it, looks like this, at least when I say to Brightspace, pretend I'm a student and show me what you see. And by the way, it's horrible at that. It does show me this. I assume that's what you look at. You get started by either clicking in either where those circles are, and it'll open up. I did find out students were not doing it that way, and they were jumping right into the lectures or whatever happened to be the second one, and they were missing the entire introduction. Use the Get Started button or the click on the Module 1 course introduction there, and the same thing for Module 2 and beyond. Other pieces on here, the homepage menu items are shown to you there. I've already done them, and if you're happy with that, you don't have to look at them, except you need to open every one of these links because the student learning assessment will not open for you until you've opened every link in Module 1. I just do that to make sure that you've seen things. If you've already seen enough, open it and move on. The next 3 are about downloading your textbooks. That's where you'll find the actual links where you can click on it as opposed to try to copy them down from what is in this lecture. And then the last ones are design, email requirements, AI policy, how to install MS Office, and then finally, you're going to find the learning assessment, which requires MS Word. When you do hit that getting started button and so forth, you're going to see the introduction there on the right-hand side. So as I understand what you can see and how your screen looks, which is very different from mine, you're going to have this table of contents going down the side and then the information over here on the right. Let's talk about the learning assessment. I got 2 more slides to go. This is already going much longer than I was hoping it would. In this case, the learning assessment is always the last content link in the module unless the module has the letter A after it. All right. Now, what you're going to see here is this is a Word document. You have to use MS Word on your desktop here. Now, you can use the Word in the cloud, but you have to save to the desktop or in order to submit this. So let's talk about what's going on here. Your first step is, the release condition thing says, you may not see the learning assessment. And if you don't, it's because, and in some modules, you may not see the quiz. And if you don't, it's because there's some elements you did not open that you have to. Now, your first step is to download it. You can read it online. It looks like you can fill it out online. You can see the boxes down there to start filling it out. And it's 2 pages, but you download it to your hard drive. Do not download it to the cloud, all right? Even if that's allowed for you, don't save it in OneDrive. OneDrive is not your hard drive. The hard drive of your computer is where this has to go. Why? Because we need to preserve the Microsoft form function. The forms only work when you do it on your own hard drive and open it from your hard drive and save it to your hard drive using Microsoft Word. Okay, so first thing, download it to your computer, fill it out. You must use MS Word. That's like 6 times I've told you that. Then save the file to your computer and use a name that identifies this file to you. I don't care what you name it. It can be just Module 1 for all as I care. And then once you save it, then you want to email the form as an MS Word attachment, and the subject has to be what you see there in red. It will change in every single form. So it's E244 www summer 2025, which is what I ask you to put on all emails, but then Module 1 assessment by George Smith or whatever your name is. And then send it as the doc form. Do not send it as a PDF form. Okay. Why am I so picky? Well, form follows function. I can get a lot more efficiency on my part, and I think on your part, if this form is filled out correctly and on time. I also respond to every single one of these, or at least that's my goal. And I need to have a way that I can work with these very quickly, especially in the fall when I might have 80 students. I'm doing 80 emails a week. Summer's going to be easy, but still, please use the form and let's do it this way. All right, that's it. I will see you in lecture 1.2.